Japan led an annual multinational naval exercise that included the Philippines as an observer for the first time, as Filipino Coast Guard vessels are increasingly harassed by China in the disputed South China Sea. The annual exercises that began Saturday off Japan's coast also included the United States, Australia, and Canada. Their aim is to demonstrate and increase ways the navies can work together and show their presence and commitment to defend a free and open Indo-Pacific, which the Allies say is hampered by China's growing ambitions that include sweeping territorial claims. On Saturday, a selected group of journalists, including the Associated Press, flew on an V-22 Osprey aircraft to the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier to observe takeoffs and landings of F-35C Lightning stealth fighters, as well as F/A-18 Super Hornet jets and E/A-18 Growlers. The Japanese destroyer Hyuga showed its presence next to the carrier. The exercise comes in the wake of the latest confrontation between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea on Friday, adding to the territorial disputes that risk turning into a more serious armed conflict. The Philippines accused a Chinese Coast Guard ship and accompanying vessels of dangerous maneuvers and blasting a Philippine supply ship with a water cannon, while China defended its action as appropriate. Territorial conflicts in the South China Sea involving China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Brunei have long been regarded as a potential flashpoint and a delicate fault line in the U.S.-China rivalry. The Philippines is an extremely important country for Japan, and we hope to cooperate with the Philippine Navy at every opportunity in the future, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force Commander-in-Chief Akira Saito said. He added that the drills are not targeting any specific nation and that the Philippines' participation was decided before its latest encounter with China. About 30 Navy ships and 40 warplanes from the four countries, as well as Philippine Navy personnel, are participating in the joint exercises that also address new threats such as cyber, space, and information warfare, Saito said. U.S. 7th Fleet Commander Vice Admiral Carl Thomas said that the vast majority of nations in this part of the world are like-minded and share ideas about maritime security and prosperity. And the more our navies work together, more multilateral our exercises are, the greater the security for this region. Thomas said the U.S. Navy deploys two aircraft carriers, the USS Carl Vinson and the USS Ronald Reagan, in the Pacific despite unfortunate situations happening in other parts of the world. Japan and the United States have stepped up defense cooperation and also expanded it to include Australia and the Philippines. The Allies share concern about China's growing assertiveness and tensions over self-ruled Taiwan, which China claims has its own to be united by force if necessary. In early November, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. agreed to start negotiations on a key security pact that would allow their troops to enter each other's territory for joint military exercises. Japan also pledged a provision of surveillance radars to the Philippine Navy under a new military grant. To grasp China's approach to the international rule of law, look at the South China Sea. In recent weeks and months, large white-hulled ships belonging to China's Coast Guard have been bullying small boats sent to resupply a rusting ship garrison purposely grounded by the Philippines, an American treaty ally, on a disputed coral atoll 2 decades ago. China claims that atoll, the second Thomas Shoal, as its own. At the same time, fighter jets from the People's Liberation Army, PLA, have repeatedly staged dangerously close intercepts of American reconnaissance flights in international skies close to China's coasts. To justify such assertiveness, China offers convoluted claims about the history of the South China Sea and about international law that are rejected by almost all its maritime neighbors. To understand this apparently self-defeating strategy, the Broadway musical, Guys and Dolls, is an oddly helpful guide. Specifically, China's approach to geopolitics brings to mind Big Jewel, a character in that peerless drama, first performed in 1950. A visitor from Chicago, Big Jewel intimidates a cast of small-time New York gamblers with hints of ties to mobsters and glimpses of a gun under his coat. After losing a fortune on a dice game, Big Jewel proposes a few more rounds, this time using his own custom dice, which are blank. HT